What's up? It's Penuel the Black Pen. I'm currently live on TikTok and I'm live on Facebook. My TikTok is at Penuel the Black Pen if you search on TikTok. And my Facebook is Penuel the Black Pen as well. I'm going to have to get like a third phone actually very soon. So when I do these lives, I can do Instagram live, maybe get a fourth phone, do Instagram live and do YouTube live and stream. Put like the 4 phones on racks and stream at the same time. This is part 2 of the Orania trip that I did with the guys at Tribal Media House and my brother Penson. Penson is working today, but I told him that I'm going to go live. I just don't want to delay the time in terms of giving you guys the updates of the trip. I told him that he should also maybe make a video if he can. Few important announcements. Number 1, let me first start off by thanking Tibugo Kibine, who's the head of Tribal Media House. He's also my business partner at the Penuel Show. I want to thank Khumutso Morube, who was one of the crew members that came through, Sizwe Dube as well, Exo Khayalami, aka Ntutuko Kaba was there as well, and my brother Penson Mlotshwa. I'd like to thank Joost Strydom, who was our host in Orania. I'd like to thank Peter Boshoff. I'd like to thank Carel Boshoff. I'd like to thank Tiens Vessels. I'd like to thank Dia, Rian Jacobs, Domini, Ronald Bain. Those were the people that were hosting us in Orania, and I'm quite grateful and honored for them. I'd like to thank all of you that watched the live, that shared the live, and I need to give a special shout out to a brother called Thomas Mabaso. He did a YouTube video basically rehashing some of the things we spoke about and giving his views around Orania, especially speaking to black people and saying to black people, look, we actually need to wake up and we need to learn from these people and see how we can take the lessons and implement them in our own lives. If you get a chance, type in maybe Penuel Orania on YouTube and I think the video will come up. It's called the 360 experience. He sent me his WhatsApp number. We've been chatting on WhatsApp and we're trying to speak about the idea of potentially visiting Orania as a group. I sent a message this morning to Joost Strydom, who is the CEO of the Orania movement. It's called the Uitvoerende Hoof van die Orania Beweging, about the potential of maybe going with a group of maybe like 10 people to Orania, for people to go and experience and see what we saw, get a tour, maybe invest a bit in the town, and come back with these lessons and see how we can implement them in our own neighborhoods. All the people that commented on TikTok, all the people that gave me gifts last time on TikTok, all the people that were on my brother's Instagram, I posted the video on YouTube as well, all the comments and shares there. I'm going to be taking the Facebook Live. I'm going to download it and then I'm going to upload it on YouTube to flight tomorrow morning, Friday, at 9 a.m. for people that are probably going to miss this, which is okay. I know this is not the best time to do a live. People are at work, people are at school, but the live on Facebook saves. And again, I'm going to go on YouTube and upload this. And then for the people on TikTok, unfortunately, I don't think TikTok saves lives, maybe saves lives. I don't think TikTok does save the live videos, but we'll see in time. I hope whoever's in charge of TikTok South Africa can create a TikTok creator fund, just like they do in other parts of the world, so that we can share with content creators on these platforms. Back to Orania. Maybe a small rehash. I explained with my brother that we traveled, I think it was the week before last week now, if I'm not mistaken. Tuesday, we went to sleep in Bloemfontein. Wednesday morning, we woke up bright and early, drove to Orania, took pictures out there, and then got a tour of the town. We had a great lunch at the Canteen, which is a restaurant there. There's a couple of restaurants there open to the public. So if you're driving past Orania, you can go into those restaurants and you can order and buy whatever you want. You can use your bank card. You can use normal South African money. It's chilled. It's open to the public. It's not written slegs, blankes, geen swartes, like no blacks, Europeans only. It's not written that. No way is it written. It's not even written no Afrikaners. It's open to you guys to support them there. For people in Orania, they've got their own voucher. It is not necessarily a currency. It may be sold as a currency, but it's their own voucher system called the Ora, which the people there use to circulate money amongst themselves. We had a great lunch there, and then later on in the day, we set up a podcast sit down with Joost Strydom, and then right after that, we went to go and set up with Meneer Carel Boshoff, who is the son of Professor Carel Boshoff, who is one of the 3 founders of Orania as a town as we kind of know it today. They started it off with 800 hectares. It has now grown to 10,000 hectares as a town, and they are constantly doing a lot of development. Where I want to pick up from is the setup of the podcast. You know, I did a bit of a behind the scenes on my Instagram live. The guys are very, very professional. The guys at Tribal Media House. So that takes, I think it took us 1.5 hours to set up. And I think even when we went to Carel Boshoff's office, we took about an hour to set up. But it's because the guys are professional. It's for the quality that you guys see on the Penuel Show. Please understand that the guys are professionals. The guys are world class. The guys know exactly what they're doing. We have decided on these dates. If they change, I will apologize and send updated dates. My sit down with Strydom will drop on the Penuel Show on the 4th of March, 2024, Monday. And then my sit down with Carel Boshoff is going to drop on the 18th of March, 2024 on the Penuel Show, 9 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to post those as soon as I have thumbnails from Boitumelo, who is Q, that is our editing guy at Tribal Media at the Penuel Show, along with Uyenzi. I'm gonna post those thumbnails so that you guys are aware that those sit downs are coming. We spoke about the history of Orania. We spoke about the history of Afrikaans people. We spoke about how the town came to be, the economy of the town, dispelling some of the myths, speaking about racism. You know, and one of the things I tried to emphasize towards the end of my last video is the fact that Joost said there are racists in Orania. It would be a lie, it would be ignorant, it would be silly to assume there aren't. In the same way, there are white racists everywhere you go in South Africa. So Orania would not be immune. But they try to emphasize that the ethos and the ideology of the town is not based on racism. It is not we want to have a whites-only town, which has been reported so many times in the media erroneously. They want a town for, and I need to emphasize it, especially for a lot of the white South Africans who actually watched our videos and commented. They are focused on number one, and Ronald Bain emphasized this. You must be Christian to get approved to live in Orania. I asked him, what comes first, Christian or Afrikaans? Christian comes first. You must believe in Jesus Christ as your Savior and Lord. You must be a Christian person. You must love God. You must love Jesus, etc., etc. So Christian is the first requirement. If you are not Christian, you unfortunately cannot be approved to live in Orania. Doesn't matter who you are if you are not Christian. Number two, must be Afrikaans. Must embrace the Afrikaner heritage, culture, etc. And it's a very funny idea of asking, but what if a black person, you know, it was an interview that was conducted by, I think, Olim Gambi, when he visited Orania, to ask, can a black person can live in Orania? And look, they answered. I don't think they were being genuine. I think they were being politically correct, but they said, look, if the black person embraces Afrikaner culture, embraces the Afrikaans language, embraces the Afrikaans history and the struggle of the Afrikaans person, and embodies all the ethos of someone living in Orania and is Christian, they would definitely consider that person. But that's neither here or there. The important thing is you must be Afrikaans. You must be an Afrikaner in culture, in language, etc. Then number three, there's other requirements. The third important requirement, and this one I am still 2 weeks later struggling with. You must be comfortable to do your own labor. You must be comfortable to do your own labor. What does that mean? Come on now. Many of the new residents of Orania, when they arrive in Orania, struggle with labor. They struggle with the idea that if the home is dirty, I must clean it. There is no Doris, some black lady coming from an informal settlement or a township to come and clean your house. You must clean it yourself. As the man or as the woman of that home. You must clean your own toilets. You must tend to your own garden. It is about self-doing, which is doing for self, your own labor. Self-sufficiency, it's a very, very big one. But the labor one is huge. There are businesses in the town. They've got their own aluminium plants. They've got their own supermarkets. They've got woodwork. They've got plumbers. They've got electricians. They've got all these guys with skills, and they emphasize skills, hard skills. Everyone there is working. But this thing of own labor, you know, when you drive through the town, hopefully some of you at some point will go and visit. One thing that will hit you is, number one, the town is under construction. There is work going on everywhere. There are, what are these things called? These bulldozer things. There are people that are building homes. There are people digging trenches. There are people maintaining certain things. There are people sweeping. There are women that are busy wiping. There are women washing windows. There are men that are busy digging in the garden. There are people that are cutting grass. There are people hammering things all over the town. People are working. There are no beggars. There are no people that are just lounging around. Saw a lot of Afrikaners there. You know, those dark Afrikaners that looked like they've been burnt by the sun. The echte boere. You know, a lot of darker Afrikaans people there showing that they work. And you drive throughout the town and you don't see one black person. Which you might think is crazy, but I can tell you now, I've traveled throughout South Africa. There are neighborhoods. It could be Indian Muslim, could be Jewish neighborhoods, could be white neighborhoods where there are no black people. You get into certain townships, get into certain, I don't know if you'd call it low-cost housing per se, so it's between a township and a suburb where you'll drive around the whole day and not see one white person, one Indian person. There are places like that in South Africa. But you look at these construction sites and you're like, I'm going to see a black guy mixing cement. I'm going to see a black woman somewhere mopping or sweeping. Zero. So their big thing is must be Christian, must be Afrikaans, must be willing to do your own labor. These conversations are going to come out, of course, like I said on the Penuel Show with Carel, Boshoff and Joost Strydom. We filmed the sit down with Joost Strydom. The area we're at had a lot of flies. It was very hot. I was hoping it wouldn't rain because it was quite windy. But the interview went quite well. After that, we went to Carel Boshoff's office. We set up their beautiful office with, it's like a library, so many books, you know, and he was showing me some of the books he likes. He was telling me some of his favorite African authors, black African authors. And we had a really nice sit down as well. It was evening at the time. You will see that, but we spoke about the history of Afrikaners. Joost raises this thing, which I think is important, and I jabbed him as well. He said that Afrikaans people have always been running, you know, from persecution and being treated a certain way. He references that when the Catholics were chasing people away or were being oppressive, they ran away as Afrikaans, or not as Afrikaans people, but I think like Dutch, French people that didn't like that type of way of living. Later on, the Dutch, the Flemish, the French, Germans, who am I forgetting? Whoever I'm forgetting, they all then came to South Africa and they got involved with each other. They got involved. It was intertribal, intercultural breeding is what it's called. And this new group of people called Afrikaans people was born. And they took on the name Afrikaners because they were like, we are African. We are not European. We are Africans. Ons is Afrikaners. And what language did they come up with? A language called Afrikaans, an African language. Now, there are people that dispute where Afrikaans comes from. Some say it's from the Afrikaans people. Some say, no, it's from the Xhosa people and the Bushmen, the Khoi and the San that were living in the Western Cape that would trade with these people that came in the ships before Abu Jan van Riebeeck and them came in 1652. And they came up with this language, which was like a mix, which became Afrikaans. And then white Afrikaners came and took it as their own. Some people dispute the origin, but that's not really important. The Afrikaners settled in the Western Cape. The British gave them some kind of heat. This is according to them, of course, not according to me. They made them feel uncomfortable. Instead of fighting, there were a few skirmishes. They decided to move in the Great Trek. It's almost like Moses leading the Israelites to the Promised Land. They're like, we will find land that is for us. And they moved in their ox wagons. It's something that they pride themselves in their history. They moved to Natal. And when they got to Natal, apparently the British also made them feel uncomfortable there. And they decided to then move again. To a point where I think one of the stories that the guy raises is some of the guys are like, look guys, let's settle with these English people. It's okay. They might treat us as second-class citizens, but it's fine. And the women said, if you do not move, we will leave barefoot as the women and leave you guys behind. So the men left. The men left and then they ended up settling in, it became South Africa was divided into four, I don't know if you'd call it colonies, but sub-colonies. It was the Cape, of course. It was Natal, of course. Natal, by the way, is a Portuguese word for Christmas. I think the settlers that settled there, when they decided to name it, it was around Christmas that they settled. So Natal is Portuguese for Christmas. Obviously, we added later on the KwaZulu, Natal. And then you had these two Boer republics, these two sub-colonies of the British Crown, by the way, being the Transvaal and being the Vrystaat, the Free State. And freedom is one of the things that Afrikaans people are really big on. You know, Afrikaans people have got these touch points One of them being their khaki, one of them being the color orange for some weird reason, and I think blue. Also on the flag of Orania, you've got this blue and on orange with a young boy rolling his sleeves up. They love their veld schooner, of course, and then the standard stuff, the Koek Sisters, the Melk Tart, the biltong, the rasks, a lekker bier, a lekker braai, you know, those boereworst, those lekker things. And pap, they love pap very much. What was my point? My point was freedom. You've got a town in KZN 100 kilometers from my hometown of Newcastle called Vryheid, freedom. The Vrystaat, the Free State. Later on with the Orange River, it became the Orange Free State, the Orania Vrystaat. And even if you look at this town, it's called Orania. There's something special about orange. And for some people, they do that reference of orange for the Dutch, the Netherlands, you know, Hollandse, the Dutch people and the color orange for some reason. I mean, if you watch the Dutch football teams, you'll see orange is a very, very symbolic personal color for them. So they settled there. Then they started organizing. And after organizing, they eventually funded the National Party. The National Party enforced apartheid, of which Hendrik French Verwoerd, Meneer Hendrik French Verwoerd, is seen as the father of apartheid. And he's someone that is celebrated in Orania, which is something that could be really, really triggering for black people. You get into there, they've got a home, it's a museum, they've got a lot of statues of Hendrik Verwoerd. Very upsetting, but why do you guys like this guy? And I think it was one of the questions I asked Carel Boshoff, and he explained why. It may not be to your satisfaction, but it's important for Afrikaans people. Almost in the same way you'll find Sotho people cherishing King Mlotshwa, who set up the kingdom of Lesotho. In the same way you'll find Zulu people cherishing King Shaka, WaKwaZulu. You know, uShaka kasenza ngakhona, usenza ngakhona kajama. And some other people might be like, but we don't like this guy. He killed our tribes. He did this. Some people don't like Robert Mugabe. Some people, but then there are people that cherish this person because they say this person put our people first. This person put our people first. Was it at the cost of other people? Correct. And that's one of the things that the guys in Orania really embrace. Joost, Strydom, Carel Boshoff, Dominee Ronald Bain, they say things like, we believe the National Party was wrong in the oppression of black people. They didn't see anything wrong with the Bantu stance. They were saying black people must go and self-do. They must have their own self-sustaining spaces. Obo Putatswana, KwaZulu, you had the Transkei, Ciskei, you had these Bantu stance. The problem is that black people were not allowed into the mainstream economy and that Afrikaans people did oppress them. They acknowledge that. They do acknowledge that. But they like Hendrik Verwoerd. What was my point? The National Party then comes into power, and then after coming into power, apartheid happens, and then black groups start fighting. The ANC being one of the leaders, fighting for political inclusion, fighting for inclusion into the economy. This is where we are today. And part of the people of Orania basically were like, again, we are being shafted. From Europe to the Cape, to Natal, and now from the Vrystaat and the Transvaal, now we're being shafted again. So we are going to build our own new space. Again, looking for freedom, for vryheid. Freedom is one of the things they're very big on. And they believe in Orania that one of the ways to attain freedom is to work for yourself. Because if you are using someone else to do your labor, you are imprisoning that person. And in some way, you are imprisoning yourself. If you think of it in terms of the prison and prison warder dynamic, a prisoner sits in jail, but someone has to watch them. And that someone that has to watch them is a prison warder. So as much as the prisoner's behind bars, the warder's also there watching him. So they almost become both prisoners of this dynamic. So they say one of the ways to find freedom is to use your own hands and to work. Like I said, it's a philosophy I'm struggling with because if you look at the history of capitalism, if you look at the history of progress, if you look at the history of innovation, if you look at where we are as a globe, a big part of it has been using labor. Now, there's been slave labor, there's been exploited labor, there's been concentration camps, there's been all these things. By the way, there were Afrikaans concentration camps when the British colony was running South Africa. It's one of the things that really, really makes Afrikaans people not like English people. To this day, they have a really, they bitter enders. We had the Anglo-Boer War, which became the South African War, but the Anglo being the English and the Boers being the Afrikaners. To this day, there's a clash. And it's one of the reasons why Afrikaans people also are very passionate about their language. They're not passionate about their language because they're like, oh, we don't like black languages. It's a misunderstanding. They are passionate about their language because for a long time in history, British people, English people were like, our language is superior. And they were like, no, we love our language as well. It's an African language. It's Afrikaans. And it's for us Afrikaners. And when they came into power under the National Party, they were so proud of their languages. They built Afrikaans high schools. They built Afrikaans universities. And they wanted to have Afrikaans as a medium of instruction, which is where now June 76 came up. And Abu Hector Peterson and those people, we know the story of June 16. It's because Afrikaans people say, ons is so trots op ons taal Afrikaans. Ons wil die wêreld, ons wil hê dat die wêreld sien hoe trots ons is op ons eie taal. How proud we are of our own language. We want to show the world. Now it's something that black people through oppression, exploitation, colonization, apartheid have lost. This thing of being like, I love my language so much that I will only speak my language. And if someone wants to engage with me and needs something from me, they must do it in my language. If I need something from someone else, if I need something from a Chinese person, I will struggle with some Mandarin. If I need something from a person who speaks Spanish, I will struggle with Spanish. If I need something from the British, I will maybe hustle some English. If I want some stuff from the Afrikaners, hey, baas, hoe gaan dit? Lekker, asseblief baas, net bietjie suiker in die koffie. But if you need something from me, because I've worked hard for it, you will speak my language. Mangingumzulu, ufuna inkomo kimi, uzokhuluma nami ngesizulu. Yebo bhuti ngakusiza kanjani? Hi, sorry, I'm looking for cows. Ay, yazi angikuzwa mama. Uthi uzofuna inkomo noma khona into ozoyifuna, and in that way you become proud of who you are. The British Empire did it across the world and became a British colony. That's why we speak English today. And Afrikaners were rebelling. This is what you call decolonization for those who are pro-black Pan-Africanist. It is saying, I will find pride in my language. And when you speak to Afrikaans people, they generally love it when black people are proud of their language more than English. Because again, English is a sensitive topic for them. People need to understand this. This is why some of the shops in Orania will have signs written, ons dien slegs, or in Afrikaans. Or slegs is only, or is it graag? Ons dien graag in Afrikaans. We serve only, or kindly can we please serve you in Afrikaans, because it is our language. If you are a black person coming into an Afrikaans space speaking English, understand that you are triggering them. Not because you are black. Mind you, they could be racist. They could be. They could hate black people. But what they don't like is that you're speaking English. And it triggers a past of theirs that is like so painful. To black people, if you think of the apartheid regime, it's like going to another space. Let's say we go to Europe, or a colored person comes into your shop, a Chinese person comes into your shop, a Canadian person comes into your shop, and then they speak to you in Afrikaans. And you're like, please can you speak to me in Xitsonga? Please speak to me in Iswati. Please speak to me in Setswana, in Sepedi, in Ndebele. Why are you speaking to me in this language that pains me, that reminds me of a painful past? That's what English is to Afrikaans people. And it's a double whammy for them when, number one, I'm hearing English, and number two, I'm hearing it from not even a white person, from a black person. Hoekom praat jy hierdie taal van Engels? Hoekom? One of the things I said to Joost and Carel was, how does it make you feel? You're on the other side of the table, proudly Afrikaans man. I'm on this side of the table. I was raised Zulu. Used to be a proud Zulu boy. Ek kan Zulu praat, jy kan Afrikaans praat. But here we are meeting in English. Doesn't that make you sad? And they both laughed and they were like, look, we have to be accommodating and. But they love people that love their languages. And anyone who has been with proper boere farmers, proper boere, die manne wat die landbou, agriculture, the men that are working the land, will know that a lot of them learn the indigenous languages of where they are. It's one of the things we talk about and we laugh and it's cute. You find a farmer and as soon as you get on the farm, hey, mfana unjani, and you're like, hey, wanja mapunu, hey, these farmers know how to speak the language. Hey, muna ukai, hey. You're like, hey, okay. They learn the language of the people because they'd rather learn that than learn English. When they go to auctions, when they're speaking to their workers, it's either in Afrikaans or the language of their workers, not English. They hate English. They fumble with English. It's one of the funniest things listening to Afrikaans people speak English. Even some of your favorite rugby players when they're being interviewed. I'm going to make an example because I love him. One of my favorite Springboks, Peter Steph Tutoy. Peter played a really, really good game. How did it go? What did you think? Thank you. Ek wil net sê baie dankie aan die Heer vir die goeie voorreg om te speel vir die Springbokke. Ons wil net sê aan die man, you're like, hey Baba, we can't understand English. It's one of the things that I really appreciated seeing Usiamthanda Kolisi in some of the interviews. He'd respond in English, and then at some point it'd end his close. Hani ngifuna nje ukubulela ezilalini abahlali nje nokuthi beze bazosibuka sidlala umbhoqo. You know, umdlali siwuthanda kakhulu, and you're like, that's dope. That's what you can appreciate if you actually don't have a colonial mindset. Going on a tangent. I just wanted to give you guys that history. I got to Hendrik for the National Party. Then they moved to Orania. I even joked about Orania almost being the Great Track 2.0. Orania is not a whites-only town. They've got close to 3,000 residents today. Close to 3,000. The argument is that there are 2 million Afrikaans people in South Africa. I think this excludes coloureds. I think it excludes coloured Afrikaans speakers. White Afrikaners, I think there's 2 million. 3,000 out of like 2 million is not even a fraction. It's almost nothing. Most of our townships are way bigger than that. So if you think Orania is like Afrikaner, what? It's too small. It is underdeveloped. It's developing really well. It's underdeveloped. And unfortunately, it's not for all Afrikaans people. Not all Afrikaans people are welcome in Orania. Just by being Afrikaans doesn't mean you're allowed there. Like I said, you have to be Christian. You have to embrace doing for self labor. A lot of Afrikaans people in South Africa appreciate, I don't know if they appreciate, but they enjoy the privilege of having colored people, black people work for them. They prefer it. It's also what helps you grow your business quicker. One of the questions I asked the guys was, what if there were black people who came in and said, we see the Orania project, we appreciate, we love it, but we need jobs. Meneer van der Merwe, Meneer Janse van Vieren, thank you very much for this Orania project. I'm a black person. I don't want to live in Orania. You guys can have your place, but we desperately need jobs. I see your wife cleaning the house. I see you doing the garden. Can I please do that because I need a job? Can you give me a job? Because there are black South Africans who sit on street corners begging. Some of them outside hardware stores with signs. Plumber, electrician, I can paint your house. I can cut your trees. Please give us a... Why, Meneer, are you doing all this work when I can do it for you? I can drive your bakkie. I can dig the holes. Just give me a little bit of money. There are many Afrikaans people who not appreciate, but enjoy the ability to have cheap or cheaper labor and not have to do it themselves. And there are many black, colored, white even people who are like, I'm so glad that I work here, I have a job. And then here's this group of people who are audacious enough to be like, we will do everything ourselves. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Many Afrikaners, when the guys initially moved, I think it was in 91, if I'm not mistaken, they thought the Orania project was not going to work. They laughed. How are you going to build anything without the labor? Why are you guys going to the middle of a desert? And if you go and visit Orania, you will see the outskirts. Desert. Dry. And the guys have planted trees. The guys have put up pipes. There's water there. The first evening in Orania, which was the Wednesday, I think the 7th of February, if I'm not mistaken, we slept in a beautiful lodge called On the Uver. A lot of different guests staying there as well, white guests. So it's not like we were shoved in some shack somewhere in the dirt. Beautiful lodge next to the river. In the morning, we had a nice cup of coffee. We just didn't have time for breakfast. A nice cup of coffee at the restaurant there. With our guests, we got to meet a Swedish man, Jonas. We'd call him Jonas. His surname was Nielsen. Jonas Nielsen from Sweden, who loves Orania. He's written a book about Orania. He shuttles between Orania, South Africa rather, because he visits the whole country, and Sweden. He was schooling me, because I was asking the questions on Sweden, Denmark, and Norway. I thought it was so dope. Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, the Scandinavian countries, almost speak the same language. It's like Zulu, Ndebele, Swart, Xhosa. They almost speak the same language, but they have their own countries. I think Norway is like the rich cousin of those. And he was telling us some of their struggles with illegal foreigners. He was speaking to us about their high tax rate and some of their struggles. And then he was speaking about why he loves South Africa so much. So we got to see him. We also met an amazing woman called Dia, who's originally from Limpopo. She says she used to be a huge fan of Julius Malema. She's run, I think, Miss Limpopo, the beauty pageant. She worked in media. She's gone and built a newspaper for Orania called the Kurania. The Kura is a play on words, it's a pun, because a newspaper in Afrikaans is a Courant. So Kurania is what it's called. I thought of the Quran, the Holy Quran, the Islamic holy book, the Qurania. Is it the Quran? No, it's Courant. The Qurania. She took some pictures of us. At some point I drove with her while we were in town, and she was telling me about her experience. All the young black girls she did empowerment work with in Limpopo, white girls as well, and how she's just watched the country dilapidate, and she's moved to Orania recently, and she loves the work that's being done. We drove to Orasol Farm, Orania Solar Farm, Orasol. It's a company. They have gone 30% off-grid in Orania because they realize what's happening with Eskom and load shedding. They've put solar panels. They've been putting more solar panels. They are upskilling and educating people in Orania on how to build their own panels, their own infrastructure, so that as much as some people are coming to help them set up, they want to be able to do these things themselves moving forward, which is something that the Chinese were brilliant at. The Chinese would go to a country, go and learn how things are done, go back home and build it themselves, or they would be commissioned to build an iPhone. They would be commissioned to build a car, and they would strip that thing apart, look at all the different components, and then they would learn to make that thing themselves. Very, very beautiful, very inspiring. Going to a place, whether you like it or not, whether they're racist or not, whether they're xenophobic or not, you're like, I will learn better ways to do things and I will take them home. And then I will implement them and do them for my people. So Orasol is 30% off grid. They're getting their battery in the next 2 months or so, because currently it's just solar. When they don't have sun, they struggle with power, as the rest of us do. And then in the coming months, if not maybe the next few years or so, they are planning to fully go totally off-grid from Eskom. They're coming up with a really dynamic model. Again, I want to send a shout out to Rian Jacobs, who was our host there. They're looking for a dynamic model where the price of electricity in Orania will go up if there's high demand and low supply, and will go down if there's high supply and low demand, so that you're actually paying a fair price. And for people that have extra power, that have maybe solar or whatever in their homes, you can sell back into the grid and get paid. It's one of the things that we're probably going to be having conversations about moving forward. The idea of selling back power to the grid. It's almost like having too much airtime on your phone. So if you don't really need that much airtime, you can sell it to other people and get paid. And depending on the price, for example, this was the example Rian gave us. Maybe in the mornings and the evenings, there's a high demand for electricity. So electricity becomes expensive. During the day, people at work really switch off the lights and those kind of things. So there's a low demand and maybe a high supply because that's when the sun is really blazing. So there are going to be people that are going to be collecting all the sun and storing it during the day. And then later on in the evening or early in the morning, they're going to be selling that electricity back at a higher price, which means you might actually have like a net positive. You'll pay for your electricity, get paid for electricity you sold, and be left with profit. I think that's a pretty dope idea, and those are some of the things we need to speak about. And I was speaking to the guys at Orania about some of these things. One of the conversations I had with the guys was the idea of, can we blueprint, franchise Orania and send it to other towns? They gave me some of the reasons why they're not ready for that, and why they're not really trying to create mini Oranias everywhere. But they did say they are very, very open to knowledge sharing. They believe very much in knowledge sharing. Anyone, black, white, colored, Indian, who wants to learn, they are willing to come to your neighborhood, your township, and share what they've seen and what they've learned. And if it's possible for them to sell you some of the tools and things that they have, they will obviously do that to bring in some of the money. But they are open. They are open to sharing knowledge with you. They've told me some of the especially in the Free State, some of the black communities, some of the villages they have great partnerships with. They've visited Orania, seen the work they do. They've visited their neighborhoods, seen how they can help. Things like water that we're struggling with now. We need to go back to learning how to pipe water from a river, from a borehole for ourselves if our government is letting us down. Electricity, we need to learn to generate our own electricity because we are here now. Things like healthcare, they've got their failings height. It's their safety center where they have their own doctor, their own nurses, their own healthcare. You should be able to do that. They've got their own patrolling. So you start off with a neighborhood watch, you graduate towards private security, all of a sudden you've got like your own police service. You can do that. Building your own homes. They manufacture their own bricks. I know especially black people, so we make our own bricks. They make their own bricks. They've got some futuristic bricks that they make, which on its own could be a great case study. It's cheaper, it's more durable, it goes up faster, and. They build in Orania with all types of material, wood, cement, steel. There are so many different types of houses. Like, again, another case study are the different materials used to build straw bales covered in clay and cement as a house, you know, and what that does in terms of weather and. What am I forgetting? So the conversations you'll see, we met Dia, who was really, really amazing. We met Rian Jacobs, who showed us Oral Soul and the farm and the work they're trying to do. We went to their training college. We met, I forget his name now. I'll remember his name. I'll remember his name. I'll mention it at some point. I want to thank him as well, the head of the training college. They've built their own skills training college there, and they're getting students not only from Orania, but from all parts of South Africa, largely the Western Cape. White Afrikaans Christian kids who are coming there to learn plumbing, electrical work, fragile home care for like old people and people that are sickly to be looked after, and many other things to do with your hands. They are very big on skills. And their centers are great, and I'm going to post the videos at some point. You can see the workstations. You can learn in real time with the equipment and everything how electricity works. You can learn in real time how plumbing works. And what was so dope is most of their workstations were built by the people of Orania. The tables, the machinery, they were built by these hands. Next to the training college, they are building rugby fields with irrigation systems. They are building that from scratch, and you're seeing it in real time. They've got a lekker stoop, lekker balcony, which is going to be for lekker kuier. Kuier for people that are not Afrikaans is a chilas, place of chila. Got table tennis. They're going to turn it into like a mini restaurant, cafe place where the students can come chill. And the one thing they big on in the training college, they want the students to be the leaders of the community. The students are encouraged to visit the churches, to get to know the community. When they get there for orientation, they have a treasure hunt, which forces them to get to know all the parts of the town. They encourage the students to work hand in hand with the town. As soon as they're done with their practicals, they're going to work in some of the companies in the town. Some of the students stay and become residents of that place. It had me thinking of Rhodes University, Amakanda, where I grew up, where the students half run the town. It had me thinking of Marties, the Universiteit van Stellenbosch, where the students kind of run the town. It's one of the things that I think is missing at Wits University in Joburg, at the University of Johannesburg. I believe Pukke, the Universiteit van Potchefstroom, I think it's called the Northwest University now, NWU. They also kind of run the town. We lack that in some of the bigger cities. Look, it is a big city. But the idea that the students engage with people, that's how you build relationships, that's how you get references. That's how by the time you leave work, you already have a job. Because you've been working hand in hand with the people in the town. I think it's so beautiful. And those are some of the things as well that they're willing to share knowledge on. We obviously contrasted it with Soltech, Solidariteit. Solidariteit is the trade union, which was a big part of Soltech, along with AfriForum as well, which is skills tertiary institution, I believe in Centurion. I need to make time to go and visit there as well, and maybe do a tour and maybe sit down with some of the leaders of Soltech, because these are the solutions that South Africans need desperately. It doesn't need to be in Afrikaans. It can be in Setswana, can be Sesotho, can be in Xhosa. It's up to you. But if you come together with people, fundraise, and build these things, and then get kids in real time to learn how to do these things. I mean, fixing pipes, fixing electrical doesn't necessarily need you to speak a certain language. You need to have the skills. It's like farming. Do you care if the farm produce you got came from someone who speaks Italian or speaks German? Do you care? You don't. But you know that German engineering in your Mercedes-Benz and your BMW and your Audi is top notch. You know that your Kappa Italian clothing is dope. You know that your Adidas and Puma from Germany are dope. You know that your Huawei phone or your Xiaomi phone works. You know that, do you need to know the language? No. You need something that's functional. One of the things Joost and I spoke about is the ideology of problem solving. We've lost it in society today. The propaganda has hit people so much that every time there's a problem, your first thought, something I discussed with Ernst van Zyl van AfriForum, soon as there's a problem in your neighborhood, what's your first thought? Government. Soon as there's a problem in your neighborhood, ANC. Let's speak to the ward councillor. The first thought should be, can I solve this? Can I solve this by myself? There's an issue out there somewhere. Can I solve it? Yes or no? If I can't solve it, can the community solve it? Yes or no? If the community cannot solve it, then we start going into the governance structures that we vote for, that we pay tax money to. But your first thought, if there's a pothole, if there's crime, if there's a broken fence, your first thought has to be, can I fix this? And we have lost that ideology. Can I fix this? My family doesn't have jobs. ANC. No. Can I create a business to hire my family members? Can I take my unemployed family members, put them through some skills training, apprenticeship, if not a school, and get them to learn how to do these things? Can I go and buy a hair clipper, go and buy a gazebo, go and buy a small diesel generator and tell my cousin, go cut hair? Can I, solve this problem of unemployment for my family? If not, can my community do it? Can I go into the neighborhood and be like, who in my neighborhood can help me create jobs for my family? If you're failing, then you go to your DA, EFF, ANC, and others. But where must it start? With me. And we've lost that. We've become lazy, and it becomes easy to point fingers. The people of Orania do not spend their time speaking about the ANC, the DA, the EFF. They are a non-political space, by the way. When they vote in Orania, they only vote for independence. Only. They don't care about national elections. I can imagine that some of them probably vote, of course, for whoever they want to vote for. It could be the DA, could be the Freedom Front Plus, who knows? It could be the ANC, EFF. I don't know. But they don't bother themselves with politics because they're like, politicians are not going to help us. They are not helping us. We do for ourselves. I do have a wish. I have a wish that we can get more community leaders. Doesn't have to be everyone. Just certain community leaders, especially in key villages and more especially in key townships. Tlantlalax, maybe from Soweto. Get someone from Ekukuletu, from Enyanga, from Gwalanga. Get someone from Mdantsane. Get someone from Ipai, Zwide, and those places, or New Brighton or Motherwell. Get community leaders from Emlazi, Kwamashu. Get community leaders from some of the townships from Mpumalanga. I don't know if Kwanyamazane, Ongodini, some of those spaces there. Some of the places maybe from the Northern Cape. Places from Kwakwa, Butsilong. I'm not sure of the townships in the Free State. Obviously, where I come from, Matadeni, Osizweni, I need to give a shout out to my places. Mbali, Ezakeni, Ekvugeni, Kwahlati. Some of the villages in Limpopo, I just don't know them. But there's places around Pulukwane, Giyani, around Zanin, some of the villages there. The Northwest, of course, Mahikeng, Rustenburg. And of course, the big bad Gauteng boy. Soweto, I've mentioned. Alexandra, Deep Sluit, Tembisa, Cosmos City. Take some of those community leaders at different times to Orania and send them with one vision. Go to Orania to learn how you can take some of the principles in Orania and take them back to your township. The only reason we are here is because we're coming to learn how we can take this back to Ikaslami, back to Emakaya Eslali. And when you get these community leaders, get some of the leaders in your community, the business owners, the church leaders, if you have traditional leaders, to sit down and be like, this is what we found out in Orania, and this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to build a skills institution in this township that teaches the children of this township how to work with their hands. We are going to enforce that people are going to pick up their own litter and sweep and clean. If you go to townships like Strydom, if you go to townships, parts of Leondale, if you go to townships like, or parts of Soweto, Deep Kloof, you will see black people cleaning their homes, painting, renovating, upgrading. It's inspiring. After we speak of Orania, we must speak about some of these townships that are so dope, that are not being profiled. We are going to speak about how we have local economies in this township that support the town. And we are also going to have a voucher system like the Ora, where Mose Soweto, there's a Soweto dollar, or whatever you want to call it, the Soweto rand, whatever you want to call it. One of the founders of Soweto, I forget this gentleman's name, but if you ever, there's a gentleman who's regarded as the guy who actually was strict in making sure that his Soweto stays alive and it builds into whatever. I actually think after a time they must rename Soweto after him. Maybe name your currency after that person. We will have a voucher system so that the people of Soweto are keeping money circulating here. The people of Tembisa, of Emadadeni, of Emlazo, of Mdantsane are going to keep money circulating here. We are going to build industry here. We are going to pipe our own water. We'll find boreholes, or we'll find a close river. We'll set up a dam so that we have our own water. We will, in Ikasletu, Mamelodi, Atteridgeville, Mabupane, Hammanskraal, we will set up our own solar. And maybe we can even start having conversations about nuclear, small modular reactors, SMRs, nuclear, wind. Should we put up something as silly as a windmill? Can we put up a windmill here just for a little bit of power? Can we maybe get the kids here to ride bicycles? And in those bicycles, we put in kinetic batteries so that as they're riding, they power these batteries that help the town. Go and learn. In Orania, they've got a company called Alexa, which has these small tuk-tuk type mini truck things that are powered by electricity and solar, by the sun and batteries and solar energy. Electric vehicles there. That's what we're going to learn. Then you realize in Orania, some of the things that keep them going, they've got one culture, one ideology. So what is going to be our culture in Diepsloot? What is going to be our culture in Siyahlala? What is going to be our culture here in the Winnie Mandela informal settlement? And we're going to take that and we're going to be like, here, if you want to be a part of this community, you must go to this church or these churches. You must go to this mosque or these mosques. You must be Muslim. You must be Buddhist. You must be Christian. Or we're actually atheist, but you must abide by these ideologies, something like a mini constitution. You must work for yourself. We do things ourselves here. And you send those community leaders to go and learn and then bring it back to your township and work. I've been hurt the past couple of days by some of the heat I've been getting from black people, especially the black people that need some of this education the most. And I've been reminded that, the whole point of Penuelism as a movement was for me to, number one, go beyond race. I'm a non-racialist. And to create my own cultural framework and find the people that I identify with. Good people that have good intentions, hardworking people that are willing to sweat, break their backs to build things. Leaders, people that are leaders wherever it could just be in your family. It could be you, your woman and your kids, but you are a leader. And people that value life, value the environment. You've got the Penuelism principles, of course, my book. So I think that's very important. It was a reminder for me. I do not serve and I do not stand for all South Africans. Very important reminder for me. There are South Africans who are criminals. I do not stand for those people. There are South Africans who are aggressive racists. I don't care for those people. There are South Africans who are corrupt and are destructive. I do not stand for those people. There are South Africans who do not care about me and other good, hardworking people. I do not care about those people. There are South Africans who have become zombies and are dependent on the state for their grants, for their free houses, for everything, to a point where they are not willing to put in any effort to free themselves. Again, freedom, vryheid. They are not willing to put in the work. I do not care about those people. They can keep voting for the ANC. They can keep voting for corruption. I don't care about them. I care about the people who are saying, Pen, let's get to work. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's build our own flag. And we can do it in the red of blood. We can do it in black, which is my favorite color. We can do it with the blue of the sky and the sea. We can do it with the green of the land. We can do it in Rasta colors. It doesn't matter. We all have our own flag. It will be a little boy. It will be a little girl, a black girl, an Indian girl, a colored boy rolling up their sleeves and saying, let's get to work. And we will ensure that we are serving people in our language, in our communities. And we will have our culture. And when we have a problem, our first thought will be, how can I solve this? If not me, my community. If not my community, then we can look elsewhere and we solve problems. I think that's very important. I'm going to shut this video down here. I need to give a shout out to the people that have been sponsoring me lately. I've realized that I'm in the business of attention capital, which means I'm not going to get paid by these platforms. Not much. Shout out to the people on TikTok who gift me. It's a little bit of money. I think the last video I did with my brother, I made $1. $1, I think, is like 18 Rand. It's not a lot, but I appreciate it from the depths of my heart. I want to give a shout out to the people on YouTube that are paying members, to the people that super thanks and those gifts which become money. I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate random people who DM me and want to donate to me. It means a lot. I mean, the fuel to go to Orania, the food that we have to eat, all of these things cost money, of course. So for the fact that you guys see the work that I'm doing as educational, you are living vicariously through me and I'm coming to share this knowledge. I appreciate that. And then I sell ad space now. It sucks. I fucking hate it. But it's important for me to be able to monetize the work that I'm doing. And look, the benefit for the people that advertise, I give a shout out to their companies. www.mhinnovations.co.za. They do home cleaning. They do corporate office cleaning. They supply cleaners as well. www.mhinnovations.co.za. I need to give a shout out to Siswa Munontlantla Mangani, who's opened the Kushinda Academy. Skills, black girl from Opongolo, Zulu girl. No government, no tender. Her own money from a catering company, who's now built the Kushinda Academy, which is in the West Rand, Florida, under Roodepoort. www.kushindaacademy.co.za. They are hosting a Valentine's dinner for couples, which is going to be quite nice. If you look at my Instagram stories, my Facebook stories, I'm going to be posting a couple of those there. I want to send a shout out to my brother, Siabulela Nganca. I've had him on the Penuel Show. I've had him on the Virtual Mkuku. He's a mining engineer. He's a mining executive. He's written a new book on health. You know, looking after your health, how to eat. He lost 20 kgs, 20 kilograms in 6 months last year. Every day he sends me his updates on his running, on his hiking, on his walking, so that we hold each other accountable. You know, and he wants to share that with you guys. He's launched a book. He's doing pre-orders. I'm going to be posting that on my platforms. There are so many other people who are advertising through me, but I'm just going to give those guys shout outs. And in my other videos, I'm going to give other people shout outs as well. Young chap, Luviwe Sambudla. Luviwe Sambudla. Lighty from the Eastern Cape. I think he's living in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. He's a champion go-karting professional at the age of like 15. These are the stories, right? 15-year-old boy is a professional racer for go-karting. He's looking to get into Formula One racing. And him and his family are supporting him. He's got a manager there. He's got a coach. And he's a professional racer at a young age. These stories of like, oh, Tiger Woods, Nabo Lewis Hamilton, it's happening in real time. And I'm going to be posting his stories as well. I'm hoping at some point to meet up with the young chap, find out what his vision is, and to try and inspire as many young South Africans to be like, you don't only have to be a DJ. You don't only have to be a soccer player. You don't only have to be a podcaster or a TikToker. You don't only have to go and work in corporate. There are other industries out there. There are other opportunities out there. And outside of visiting Orania and other places, how can we get young, black, colored, Indian, white South Africans to go and travel and see what these kids are doing? And can we do something similar here? So shout out to Uluviwe. Shout out to his parents as well. Yeah, I think I'll stop there. Thank you for tuning into this live. As I said, I'm going to upload it on my YouTube channel. It's going to drop tomorrow morning. And again, thank you to everyone who contributes to the work that I do. Everyone that watches the work that I do. Everyone that shares the work that I do. Penuel Orania on YouTube. Go and see the 360 experience. Thomas Mabaso dropped a video there. I think it's on 26,000 views. All the guys at Amped that I work with. All the guys at Tribal Media House and the Penuel Show that I work with. My brother, Penson Mlotshwa, one of my biggest fans. I'm a big fan of him as well. Very big on loving guns and is educating people on guns and protecting your family. Again, before you call the cops, can I protect my family? Can my community protect my family? And everyone else that maybe I haven't mentioned. I'm going to be in Durban next week, Monday, at a spaza in Daba. courtesy of You Wear Your Brand. The guys came to Joburg. We sat down. We had a lovely breakfast at Forno's Bakery in Hyde Park or close to Hyde Park. I'm going to be in Durban. Please come through if you can. If not, let's see if we can set up an informal get-together in Durban. I'm going to be in Durban, and then I think mid-March around, I'm going to be in Cape Town. Hoping to shoot a few podcasts there. I might be going to the Biz News Conference. I'm hoping to visit there. We'll see how it goes. Of course, visit my boy, Rob Heasy, Rob Hersoff, and some of my associates there. Going to be visiting my boy, Shwiro, Webster Kushata, that side. Shepherd Pandega, one of the guys who helps me do my work on my channel, the Penuel channel. I know I'm forgetting a lot of people in Cape Town, but I'm going to give you guys shout outs when I'm that side. And then maybe we'll have an informal gathering in that side. And then later on, I'm going to an art exhibition in Kabeja, Epai, in PE, Port Elizabeth. I'm going to be in the Eastern Cape, I think in March, late March, I think. That's going to be really dope. Shout out to Mpo Takada of Arise Mzansi. I sat with him on the Penuel Show. Arise seems to be getting traction. He's launching a book. I know he's doing a book launch in Sandton. He's doing a book launch at Mall of Africa in Midrand. I'm hoping to catch one of those. But to all of you out there who have the right mindset, who are realizing that no government is coming to save you, no politician's coming to save you, it's you. You are the person that your community is waiting for. You are the person that your family is waiting for. I'm only here to try and give you guys inspiration, motivation, and some education and information and access and network to ignite you. To be like, bro, sis, we're waiting for you. Just rise up and become something great. And if you need to chat and if you need me to come through and help, let's do it. We can all do it together. Thank you for tuning into this live. You can drop off, go back to work, go back to school. Just going to read a few comments before I log off, so don't mind me. Penuel the swart pen, Penuel the black pen, Penuel pene limnyama, Siboluntsundu, Penuel pene ensu. I love you guys, man. Le stilo noir. I'm still learning my French. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get back to work. $25,000 likes on TikTok. At this time, 168 viewers and dropping because people are leaving. But man, you guys don't understand how much I appreciate you. It means you guys really, really want better for your lives. It means a lot to me. Makes me sad that I won't be able to read my TikTok comments after this. At least my Facebook comments I'll be able to read after this. I think someone needs to recommend to TikTok that they really allow us to get the lives to stay and to be able to read the comments. So yeah. Okay. And to everyone who's negative, man, I feel sorry for you. It's okay. Stay in your negativity. It's okay. The rest of us are going to move. Like I said, I just had that epiphany again of I'm not here to serve and assist everyone. And that's okay. That's really, really fine. Go and find the leader that speaks to you. I've got no issues with that. And I hope those leaders help you. I hope those leaders help you solve problems for yourselves. If not, then shame, and I'm really sorry. Let me log off on Facebook. Love you guys. Cheers.